Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I am Aidan,
Jack.
and we are here recapping the Cannons' Week 4 win over the Archers, the Bombs away game. Cannon set a PLL record with 5 2-pointers in this one, two from Matt Campbell, two from Ryan Drenner, one from Chris Islanian. Um, so final score 14-9. So the Cannons and Archers scored the same number of goals, but the Cannons had 5 goals, count for two. That's the difference. Got to be a tough one for the Archers fans, but Jack, what were your initial thoughts during and right after the game?
During the game, it felt honestly like a slow build for most of
Yeah,
the game. I felt like it really was like this, what is going to happen? It feels close, but at the same time, it doesn't feel close. Like it felt like there were a lot of lulls. Um, and then, it was is and then it got real exciting at the end, like just when the two bombs were piling up. And yeah, I don't know. My thoughts were kind of all over the place throughout the game because I think that the Archers, I think they controlled the game a lot, and so there was
yeah.
a lot of moments where it felt like, dang, like they're just their offense is playing better than ours, but then we just kept getting the two bombs. So not only are we scoring, but we're getting double the points out of it. So it makes it feel that much more exciting. And I think it make kind of hides the fact, not obviously we won, but like we score the same number of goals. So it seems like, oh, 14-9, like the Cannons dominated, but honestly, it was not a domination. It was very even. And honestly, I think more Utah was better for most of the game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We had, um, I think, a bit of sloppiness, which I think we talked about in the preview episode, like coming out of the bye week, and then especially because, the second game tends to start a little bit later anyway. We had a weather delay that wound up with the game starting about 20 minutes after it was supposed to. Um, it was a bit of sloppiness, and then the field was literally wet, so it was actually slippery out there. I think there was definitely some sloppiness, some misconnections, some guys not being in the right position, which I think you see in the PLL with a bit greater frequency, just because you're only practicing like the day before the game, and you have like a Zoom meeting during the week. Um, but yeah, you're right. The Archers had the run of or yeah, the run of possession, I think a little bit more than the stat line would indicate. They certainly, the game was closer than it would indicate. Um, and slow burn is a good word for it too. Like you said, it was 1-2 at the end of the first quarter. Things picked up a little bit, 6-6 at halftime. And then, I was really not feeling good for long stretches of this game, but the 2 pointers keep him in it. So all the credit to those guys, to Campbell, Drenner, and Islanian, because that was the difference. Having three guys who can stretch the field like that, and I think they got a few other guys who can do that too. Obviously, Holman we saw had one against the Whips, um, but the Cannons more than double their production, their total of 2 pointers in the night. I just checked before we started recording. Cannons have 9 2-pointers now in the season. The second team is Archers or Atlas with 5.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and the Waterdogs just got their first one of the year yesterday as well. So they're down in last place with 1. So the Cannons, like, this has definitely been a part of their offense for the whole year so far, and we really saw them take it to another level on Friday
Yeah.
night. Yeah. Um, let's see. So I think we were excited. Well, maybe not. We weren't excited about Graham Hassett coming back, but I think the league in general was. Certainly, Archers fans were.
Mhm.
He probably got the better of his matchup with Asher Nolting. Obviously, we saw what he can do with 7 points against the Whips. Only three, goal, 2 assists. Um, this past game, he did. His goal was really beautiful. He caught the ball right below GLE, kind of shook off Hasek, got the inside angle, and scored as he was kind of falling towards the crease. Um, 2 assists, but not including one of them on one of those 2 pointers, but not as maybe not as dominant as we were hoping, or as certainly we know he can be. But Hasek
Mhm.
is a different animal. Uh,
The yeah, Cossack, different animal. I know we talked about it last week. is Hasek going to come in fired up or is he going to come in rusty? Clearly, I think he came in fired up.
Yeah.
He was fresh, and yeah, he really did a good job, I think, of limiting Nolting. And so credit to Hasek, but I also think credit to the rest of the Cannons offense then for picking up the slack. And I think that the Cannons were really able to spread around the offense and open things up. You know, Campbell obviously
Yeah.
having the 2-2s. He also had the first goal and he assisted on Holman's goal at the end of the second quarter, first half. So all six that the Cannons scored in the first half, Campbell played a
Yeah.
role in. And yeah, I think that the offense just I lost my train of thought there.
Oh, it's all right.
Um,
It was balanced. Let's look at the scoring summary. So we had Campbell with 6 points, with the two pointers, a 1 pointer, and an assist. We had Chris's line with four, because he had a one, a two, and an assist. Drenner with
mhm,
four with the two twos. Nolting 3 points, like we said. Holman 3 points, one goal, two assists. Um, and then no points for anyone else down the rest of the roster. But
mhm.
yeah, that's a balanced attack. You had what, six guys getting in on it with six, no, I guess five guys, 6-4-4-3-3 is the point spread there. And obviously the 2 pointers make that look a little bit more dramatic than it is. Um,
Right.
but the ball moving around was moving around quite a bit. Um,
The ball was moving around, and I think where I was gonna go was just that, you know, once you get one or two in, I think the guys were feeling good. And also Dobson, you know, I was looking back at the highlights of the game and heard Park talking about it. It's sort of once you get one or two from the outside, you know, a guy like
mhm.
Dobson, he can be so good and so good inside, but if you can get it past them at long range, kind of gets in their head a little bit because you would think that it's easier to see the ball from distance, but if one, two get past you, then you're thinking about it more and it can just kind of spiral. And I think that was part of what happened at the end of the third quarter when
Yeah,
Drenner got, I think that was Drenner's first two because he had his second one in the fourth. And then Islanian had one in the fourth as well. That one that he made the initial save on, and then just I guess the front spin on
yeah,
it just kind of rolls off the shoulder, barely rolls in, and it was 4 seconds to go in the quarter two. So not only is it brutal that you make the stop but still let it in, but that it comes right before the buzzer, I think
yeah,
was a big momentum shifter because, like we talked about as well with the Archers really controlling and taking that, and the Cannons went up 1-0, but then it felt like it was all Archers for a stretch there, especially in the second quarter. And then the Cannons, it was 4-1 Archers, and then Campbell got his first two, cut it to 4-3, and then it was basically like Cannons would either tie it or get within one,
yeah,
but then the Archers score again. So it was like it felt like we were chasing a lot, but we had finally got it up to, I think it was 8-8, and then Drenner's two made it 10-8 going into the fourth. And so that was the first time that we had a little bit of breathing room
yeah,
all game. And so I feel like that was just a huge turning point of a brutal goal right at the end of the quarter to finally take a more than one goal lead. I
yeah.
guess technically because of 2 pointers, it is a one possession game still, but to feel like you have some breathing room there, I think that was something that really just helped the Cannons carry the momentum into the fourth and end up, shutting down Utah for the rest of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and we've seen this a couple times for the Cans now. We saw, we thought Sowers scoring with 4 seconds was the end, and that was a backbreaker for us. Tucci obviously scores the actual buzzer beater, and I mean that really changed the game, make that 8-5 against the Dogs. Um, and we
Mhm.
saw week two against the Whips. I don't think it was the end of the quarter, but Holman, um, like the Cannons and Whips had been going back and forth. It was 6-4 at the half, I believe. Holman scores a two to make it
Mhm.
8-6 Cannons, and from that point, they really never look back.
Right.
Um, and the 2 pointers are such like momentum builders, and it's double. I mean, we see it in the Celtics too, and Pritchard has had those half court threes at the end
Yep.
of quarters. It's such a backbreaker, especially when it like changes the either flips the lead, ties a game, goes from tied to lead, especially when it's a two. Because the
Hmm.
Archers they have I don't know if Ogden was in the lineup. He can shoot from distance. Schreiber can shoot from distance. Most of the polls can, but I don't think they have exactly the stretch shooters the Cannons do. They're more of like a shifty, quick team.
Yeah.
Uh,
Crafty guys,
yeah.
good working
Oh,
inside the
O'Keefe.
field.
O'Keefe can definitely shoot from two.
True.
Yeah. And that was another. I mean, it's not a real strategy thing or anything for the Cannons going forward because they won't play again unless it's in the playoffs. But man, some of those Archers players are tricky. Like so many times the Cannons, I think they have Fields wrapped up, and I mean that's happened thousands of times in his career. Is an opponent thinks they got Fields, like he's on his knees, not facing towards the goal, one hand on his stick, and he somehow either like whips it across to an open guy, or he just throws it over his shoulder, and the goalie's not expecting it. He is a wizard.
Yeah, he really is. And also, I think, talking about the field being slippery, I think played a part in it, but I believe it was Mac O'Keefe
Yeah,
who got CVR to just fall straight on his butt. And then
yep,
that ridiculous just that he had.
yeah,
Um, yeah, like I said, I think that I think CVR's feet going out from under him and legitimately falling on his butt was the weather, but it's the same thing, just that he that little stutter step at least makes CVR slip,
yeah,
and like even on a dry field. And so yeah, the Utah offense just really crafty, really
yeah,
shifty, and they made it difficult on the defense for sure. We had more kind of sloppiness penalties, Bryce Young with the slash on one of the Archers goals early on. And
yeah.
then I know that the Archers also scored on a power play with Zach Goodrich in the box. I forget
Yeah,
what he
Goodrich
was
took a
in
couple
for,
fouls
but
there.
that seems to be a trend really this
Yeah.
year. It's especially Young. I was hearing, I realized I didn't, it doesn't surprise me, but he's leads the league in penalties this year. That's
Hmm.
like not something that I don't know if he ever did that with the whips, but I didn't think of him as being a leader in penalties when we got him. And so, but it definitely feels like he has spent a lot of time in the box this
Yeah.
year.
And Apple not far behind.
Hmm.
Yeah, let me just sort this now on the stat sheet. So far this year, all right, well, Bryce Young is tied for the lead with 4 penalties called against him, along with
Hmm.
Baptiste, Danny Logan, and Piper Bond. Um, but penalty
Interesting.
minutes, he is the leader by a minute. So he's got 4 penalties for 4 minutes. Uh,
Okay.
and let's see, Apple is in sixth with 3 penalties for 2.5 minutes. There's a multi-way tie for um,
Okay.
penalty minutes. There's 5 guys tied with that. But yeah, this is it's been an issue for the Cannons. They don't have too many other guys way up top, although Goodrich now with 2 fouls
Hmm.
last or this past Friday was not ideal. And I think their penalty kills also just not good enough to allow that.
Has it been an issue though? Because outside of that brutal Atlas game, they are 3-1 and have found ways to win it, different ways to win in all three games. I think against Maryland, it was the Asher Knowlton just feeding the rock, going
Yeah,
all over the place, him really just quarterbacking from behind. Then against the Waterdogs, yeah, the Zach Tucci game, him going off, they're winning using a face-off guy. I guess Tucci did play against Maryland, which obviously helped
yeah,
with possession there. And then now again this week, I think it was winning by shooting the two. So they're able to win in multiple ways. Obviously, it would be better if they weren't taking so many penalties, but knock on wood, it seems to not have been really a detriment to the team.
Yeah.
They seem to it's not it's more of a they are winning despite their sloppiness on defense, and I think that is something to watch. Though it doesn't get cleaned up, obviously. I think they're really missing Jack Keelty.
Yeah.
Can they are they going to get better as the season goes on and mesh better and understand more? Because I think part of it is just being out of positioning, coming in late or whatnot.
Yeah.
Does someone step up and become more of a voice? Do they just, the guys haven't really played together? Obviously, Young and Apple are new to the team. Do the like, are they fine at some point? Are they going to finally connect and play as a more cohesive unit? We'll see.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure that'll happen this year just because it's tough to put someone else in that captain of the defense Keelty role. And then just like it's kind of everyone is a little bit out of position doing that. Not that they can't, and maybe like I have all the faith in the world in Holman and the guys they have there on defense. Um, it's just a matter of with the practice time they have, can they figure out how to, and especially if a lot of the polls are taking penalties, that makes it even more
Mhm.
difficult to. I know the penalties are usually on the defensive side of the field, but um, if it's Young or Apple that's trying to take over that leadership role, but they're the guy usually in the box, then that makes that power play communication or penalty kill communication a lot tougher.
Definitely.
Um, yeah, I'd say that's probably my biggest complaint about the Cannons on the year so far. Obviously, the Atlas game not great, and the penalty kill was a part of that, but you know, yeah, there's not a lot to complain about the last couple weeks. So I'm nitpicking a little bit here, but you never want to be the team leading the league in penalties. Uh,
No, you definitely don't. And yeah, you can definitely nitpick on that, but I think that goes to show just how high the potential of this team is, that
oh yeah,
we are 3-1 and we are doing that despite not having the best defense. So if they can sort of figure it out, clean up the penalties, and it's not like the defense is atrocious. Like
oh
obviously
no,
they
nine
they
goals,
are still good, and Cursed is phenomenal. And Cage, it's not like we're winning every game in a shootout.
right?
I mean, we gave up 9 to both the Whips and the Archers, and then I think it was only 11 to the Water Dogs. So, about 10 goals a game. That's not bad. So I think that the question more is if they can come together as that cohesive unit. Watch out
Yeah,
for the cannons. That could be really dangerous.
yeah, and I think like a game like this demonstrating that they can light up one of the best goalies in the league from
Hmm.
distance is going to do wonders for the inside game of letting Knowlton have another game where he gets 7 points, whether that's a bunch of goals or
Hmm.
a bunch of assists.
Yep.
Um, we haven't talked about the different lineup that they had this week, but if that lets some of their inside guys, whether that's the Kavanaughs or Donville or Mike Robinson, um, if that lets them cut inside, and if someone stretches out to Campbell, does he didn't dish it back inside to a Kavanaugh? Um, I think it
Yeah.
gives defenses one more thing to be scared about, and hopefully that is exciting everyone else in that Cannons offense.
Yeah,
Definitely getting me excited. Uh,
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, you got anything you want to say about the lineup changes? Obviously, it was pretty shocking
yeah,
not having Matt in there. Pat obviously hurt. That is, it is what it is. Matt, I get it because he hasn't been producing or hadn't done much in the first 3 weeks. It was definitely still a shock to see Matt Kavanaugh not on the game day roster. But his replacement Robinson didn't do anything.
yeah,
Donville also didn't do anything. So homecoming, it will be curious. I will be curious to see what happens. Do Robinson and Donville get another shot, or does Matt come back in? Do they
Yeah.
split it? I don't know because I think they get an extra roster spot for homecoming, right? Or is it still the 19 dressed and then
No,
they just have three protected?
right. It's that. So I
Okay.
think we'll definitely see we will not see the same lineup both games because I don't think any of the three previous teams have done that. Robinson, I confess I still haven't watched any of his film from college. I do kind of want to do that
Hmm.
before this homecoming.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm sure that was just a case of like we got to see what we have in him in a real game. Uh,
Hmm.
so I hope he gets one more chance. At some point this year. Um, Pat Cav, yeah, obviously, hopefully he's healthy. And then Donville, I mean, now that I think he was on IR as well. So with him being healthy, you got to try to throw him back in the lineup, and he's been a great contributor for the Cannons as well. That I'll just assume it's rust for the sake of him, but I think
Hmm.
homecoming, especially in the midfield, I'm sure we'll see probably Verdaro back in one of those two games. We'll see Donville in. Chris Lanyon, I mean, keep him in the lineup with 4 points in
Yep.
his game of the year, especially because he's yet another guy who can stretch the field uh,
Right.
and dodge.
Yep.
I think so probably what Donville, Verdaro, um, Pat Cav, I guess if they're having him run through the box still, and then
Hmm.
Chris Islani, and we'll probably see the four of them rotate through four spots. Maybe they'll have Pat Islani.
Obviously, Drenner is still
Yeah.
staying
Oh
too.
yeah. Oh, Drenner and Campbell are staying. That's why I'm not
Yeah.
including them in that. Yeah, they're gonna
Yeah.
play both games for sure. Um, Maybe we will see because I think Carter Paulette now is the only guy in the 25 man we haven't seen in a game this year. So maybe he
Right.
gets to play one of
He
those
was on the
games.
protected roster this weekend, I think, though, which I
Yeah.
think was the first time I saw him there, unless I don't
First or second,
remember.
maybe. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would like to see him, obviously, just to see what they have there.
Right.
So maybe with the Cannons playing twice, that's something he'll get in on, or maybe Patislanian if one of the short stick D mids needs a break.
Yep.
Because obviously I believe in everyone that they have in that roster. Want to see them all do their best, and I want to see them all get chances.
Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, with Dan hyping up Mike Robinson in our episode 4 interview we did with him. I want Dan to be proven right. One, because that's really cool if he calls that, and two, because he plays for our team.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
yeah. I think maybe the last thing we need to touch on from this game is just the battle at the faceoff dot.
Mm.
So Tucci went 40%, Sisselberger went 60 something. Then it never winds up to exactly 100. Because of violations and stuff like that. So we went 13 for 19, which Professor Google can tell me is
Sure.
68.4%.
Yep.
Um, so Sis obviously gets the win there, but I think what we said when Tucci started and what Holman said during his interview with us is like if Tucci just go around that 40% mark every day, I think that does enough to give the Cannons a chance to win. And
Hmm.
obviously it did. And it has done because he went about 40 against Nardella. No stat against the Waterdogs. It's an outlier. And then he goes about 40%, or he goes exactly 40% on Friday. Um,
Hmm.
We'll see. I mean, I still wouldn't be surprised if they try a game without a face-off at some point this year. But I do think with the new rules, it's kind of seemed like you need one to win. And we saw, we'll touch on the other games of the weekend. Stathakis do about the same at his rookie debut.
Yep.
And the Waterdogs finally won. So, maybe there is something to that of, again, I've said this before, just keeping the other team honest of needing to put at least one defensive player out there. I know I saw Courier on the wings, but he can kind of do both.
Hmm.
Hurst for the Cannons can do both. You just need to make the other team not get easy early transition offense with like we saw
Like,
to score the game winner, like just pop
right.
it forward and run down the middle.
Yeah. Or, like we saw against the Atlas in week one, that they were literally putting two O mids
Yeah,
on the wings because they knew they were going to get the ball and be able to go straight into their offense. You can't have that.
no,
Clearly, that crushed crushed us week 1.
Yeah, it
So
crushed us. It crushed the Waterdogs. Um, and I think maybe with that we can turn to the other games. So huge win for
yeah,
the Cannons. Come to homecoming, but we'll just quickly touch on the other three games that happened this past weekend. So
yep.
game one, the mighty Atlas fall. Uh, the Whip Snakes get their second win of the year. Um, take down the Atlas 16-12. Um,
Mhm.
through I believe that was, let me just quickly check the stats here. A pretty good showing from Joe Nardella, which is yet another argument. Baptiste 14 for 29, Nardella 18 for 32. So
Okay.
a decent game by both of them. Nardella
Yep.
also had a point. Um, I think what really sunk the Atlas in this one was Troutner. I won't say no. Well, Troutner, looking like the goalie that got him losing his job for uh the Redwoods last year, getting replaced by Jack
Mm.
Kelly. And he did get replaced in this game by Liam Entman. So Entman saw his first PLL action.
hmm
Um, I think he only got replaced in the third or fourth quarter though. So
It
the
was the
game was
fourth
kind of,
quarter.
yeah, kind of out of reach at that point already. Um,
Be
excited
interesting
for
to
him, obviously.
see.
What was
Sorry.
that?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, it'll be interesting to see next weekend
Yeah.
what New York ends up doing. Are they gonna give Troutner the job back, or is Entman gonna get a shot at get his first start in the league?
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure, and I'll be excited to see either way. Actually, no, I want Edmonton to start, because they're not playing us. So,
Exactly. Yeah,
yeah, I want to see
I
how good
would
he is in the pros now.
be more intrigued by that.
Yeah, and then Cannons obviously with the other game Friday. First game Saturday, we had the Outlaws looking like a good team now, taking down the Redwoods 13-8. They really pulled away in the geez, yeah, the game was tied going into the fourth, and the Outlaws outscored the Redwoods 5-0. So
Outlaws
dominant.
are Outlaws are looking good,
Yeah,
especially that, you know, because they had the bye in Philly, so their last game before this one was that huge game against the Archers in Carolina, which
yeah,
feels like a year ago. But oh, got a little thumbs up. Okay. Um, but I do want to pump the brakes a little bit on Outlaws looking like a good team because I think part of that is also that I don't think the Redwoods are good this year.
that's true. Yeah, they are now the last winless team in the league. They're 0-3. The Woods are now 2-1. Um, and the Waterdogs are 1-3. So it is
Yeah.
the Woods at the bottom of the standings there, unfortunately. Um, this game was also a coming out party for Graham Bundy. Weirman not great on the face-off today or Saturday. TD won about 70%, but Bundy with four goals, including a two.
Mm,
They were all, really high goals, like really stretching the field. We had, yeah, so that was their only two. But a huge offensive outpouring from him. Pretty quiet from O'Neill. He only had one goal.
mm,
But it's maybe even scared that they're spreading it around. And then final game, like we said, the Dogs get their first win of the year over the Chaos. This game was really interesting. It was tied 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, 4-4, 6-6. And then the Dogs pulled away in the end. They got their first two of the year. Like I said, that was Ryland Reese. That was the final goal of the game.
mm.
Uh, so, like we said with the Cannons, if Stathakis can just go about 40% and make the other team be honest, that might be enough. Because we know the talent they have on that roster. Sowers and McCardle, obviously. Walker, Jack Hanna back from injury. He had a couple goals, I believe. I think 3 or 4 points. Um, let's see. Jack Hanna had, yeah, 3 points, 2 goals, 1 assist. Um, and that was he's like one with each hand down the alley. Yeah, fantastic shooter. So their offense looked a little more dialed in now that they got to be on offense a little bit more. So that
Yep.
does not necessarily bode well for the Cannons, but we'll see what that matchup will look like next Saturday. 5 days from when you're listening to this, assuming you're listening to the day it comes out. And I'm so excited for that weekend. Hopefully
Oh,
the Cannons can keep the Redwoods win the streak going for one more week.
yep.
And man, I want them to beat Philly in
So
Boston
bad.
so bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
that'd be nice.
yeah, so
That's
we'll have our preview episode for you Thursday, as always. We're hoping to have the Den and the K9 Crew supporter groups from both teams for that episode. Haven't finalized that yet, but we'll certainly get you ready for both games. And yeah, this is it. It's homecoming. It's time. Harvard Stadium, July 5th and 6th. Cannons play at 6 o'clock on Friday the 5th and at
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock on Saturday the 6th. That'll be the first and last game of the weekend.
Yep.
Um, it'll be electric. You know, for anyone who's been to a Cannons game in Harvard Stadium, I think this will be an even bigger crowd. It'll be much more like a playoff atmosphere, especially given the two games,
Hmm.
the city alliances, how much we hate Philadelphia now. I cannot. And then you'll see some other fantastic games. No chaos, but you get the Atlas again looking dominant versus the upcoming Outlaws. We'll see how
Outlaws.
those two teams match up, and then the Archers and Whips. Um, Two teams looking to right the ship a little bit. Archers had some tough losses this year. Whips finally, they took down so they took down Goliath. That's kind of mixing mythologies there with Atlas and Goliath, but we'll see if the Atlas can or if both teams if the Whips look better than
Yeah.
they did those first couple games, and then if the Atlas maybe found their Achilles heel to just keep throwing in mythological characters.
We'll see.
Yeah, all right. So if you haven't gotten your homecoming tickets, please do that. The link in our bio here. Sit with us, tailgate with us, party with us. Hopefully as we're celebrating two big Cannons wins next week.
Fingers
Um,
crossed.
but
Let's
enjoy this
go.
one, at least for one more day.
Yeah.
The bombs away, 5-2's PLO record. All right.
Let's
Thank you all
go.
for listening. We hope to see you Friday and Saturday.
Yeah. Let's
All right.
do it, baby. All
Yeah,
right.
go Cannons.
Go Cannons. Boom.
Boom.